That's f***ed.
Oh, it's the gift that keeps giving us, place.
We need to fix them.
Is that a Subaru?
All the skirting boards have been eaten out.
Rotten. It's rotten back here.
Alright guys, I'm just going to start the tour off and just show you what we're working with in here. Now that was the front door just there, and we've got the hallway down that way and a living room here. Now part of this living room is an extension. I can tell that because that beam there looks like an old wall, and the floorboards also indicate that, just the way that they've been patched in. And we've also got a window here, which doesn't really make sense unless that window used to go to outside and now this has become inside. So we're in the extension, and what I'd like to show you is all of this termite damage. That tape is covering the worst of it. This is really bad. Oh God. There you can see here, this has been patched in. That may be part of the extension that happened. This could have been a cupboard or something once upon a time, but more to the point, the damage goes right through. Basically from that duct tape or a little bit beyond it towards all those tools. All that floor is going to get replaced. The skirting boards are going to come off. We may uncover more damage as we go. This crack in this wall indicates that the floor has dropped. No surprises there. So we will be having to prop that back up. But overall, there's not a horrible amount of cracks in the plaster. And the skirting boards are in pretty good condition.
You sure about that?
Pretty good condition.
The walls sound solid. There's not that many cracks in the plaster, like I said. So I'm hopeful that the most of this damage is just limited to the floor and limited to the middle of the room, because the worst of the damage is in the middle. There may be some damage towards the edges, but like I said, most of the damage doesn't look like it's at the walls, which is a good thing. So termite damage, floors, the subfloors, they've got to be repaired. Alright, so I'm in the bathroom now. It's in pretty good nick. The only thing is the ceiling's a little bit moldy and a little bit damaged, and it's pretty old school because it's the old horsehair plaster, so that gives a good indication of the age of this. Alright, we're outside now. Look, there's just some general rotten eaves. We need to fix them. They're rotten because the gutters are leaking, so we need to fix the leaking gutters, which is just replacing them basically. It's all overgrown. No one's lived in this house for a year. We're trying to get it fixed up and back on the rental market, so we're just gonna chop some of these trees back. Some of the asbestos eave linings have fallen down because the rot is that bad, so we'll get those removed and replaced and just tidy the place up a bit.
It's also rotten. It's rotten back here where it meets the carport. Coming through the carport, you can see that this gate is ruined. We will be replacing that. This pergola doesn't look bad from here, but it's all getting replaced. Same with the laser light, that's no good. So we will remove the laser light. We'll also be installing new laser light right the way across as opposed to just those couple sheets. So we've got all these trees to cut back. Have a look at this. The main power cable's coming to the house. They've hooked onto the fascia. They're supposed to be screwed into the timber behind the fascia, which they used to be, but the gutters are leaking, and so the gutters have let water in. The wood's rotted away and the fascia has pulled away. It's pulled away from the house, so all these eaves have to be replaced. We're gonna have to clear all this garbage out. Is that a Subaru?
Dude, is this a Subaru? Whoa! Is that a Subaru?
Anyway, garbage gotta go. Who knows what we'll find. So the main tasks are going to be the floors, a tidy up, fixing the rotten timber, a ceiling, and some eave linings and some gutters. So anything else we come across, I'll tell you about later, but for now we're going to rip into it.
Yeah, boy.
So not every board, but up until there and across here is where most of the damage lies. It seems as if the termites have kind of snuck up through the concrete slab out there, and they're just pushing from that wall all the way through to here. All the skirting boards have been eaten out. The architraves were eaten out. We get to here, there's a bit of termite activity along this joist, and right in this section was the most damage in the floorboard. I'll pull all this out, see if we discover anything else as we go, but if I pull too many of the floorboards out, it'd be kind of hard to tell the story. So I think it is helpful to understand where the termites started and where they're going, just so you can be sure of the fact that you've gotten rid of them and repaired any areas that they got to. Alright, another way I can tell this is an extension is this skirting board is MDF, and the other skirting boards we just put off were hardwood. These have also been put on with a nail gun, no surprises there, whereas these other ones were hand nailed, so it's just, it all tells a story as you pull it apart. So I thought all this termite damage was actually going under the wall and into the laundry and causing the tiles to fall away, but it turns out I've had a look from underneath. The subfloor is made out of melamine, which is basically only good for cabinets. So that's why that's f***ed. Anyway, turns out the laundry needs a new floor, but the good news is the termites weren't too interested in the joists and the bearers and the stumps. So we're just replacing floorboards and a couple of joists there, so.
Marge, can I go outside and play? Moving, you stupid! Come on!
about a quarter of the way along. It's probably the hardest bit because of the soil on top of the footpath. Now I've dug a test hole in the other direction, and right where the hot water unit is, I dug a hole.
Dale dug a hole.
And I couldn't find any concrete. So somewhere between the hot water unit, which is there, and here, the concrete ends. So there's no point chasing it. I'm probably just gonna put some bricks from the fence across, and that will just help retain the soil while the level kind of steps down onto this concrete path we've just discovered. So that's the plan for that. I'm still gonna clear out the vegetation here, but I'm not gonna scrape up all this gravel. We'll probably just cut these overgrown shrubs. They're turning into trees now. We're gonna cut them out of the way, and we should have a good line of sight all the way through the front yard. And we've definitely gained a lot more access to fix all these gutters and fascias and eaves.
Surprise, surprise, termites are in the shed as well. We're just going to demolish the shed because there's a whole garage over there anyway. Pretty well here in Box Hill. The termite and pest controllers have come and gone. They've treated underneath the house and the perimeter of the house. So they basically pour chemicals on the ground, and then there is a layer of soil with chemicals in it, and if termites break through that layer, they get poisoned and they die, which is how we're going to protect this house. So the house has a barrier around it. We've gotten rid of the termites. We're ready to put floorboards on. Some other things that have happened over the weekend while I wasn't here. The green waste has been removed and mulched and sent away. We're cleaning things up. I'm ready to put floorboards back in. I could be doing other things, but floorboards are the priority. I've made some progress with the pergola. That was quick and easy, and I put those timbers up so that they didn't get stolen, basically. It was just easier to install them than it was to lock them up securely. I'm gonna just explain to you a bit of a tactic that I have in mind to make sure everything meets up where we want it to meet up. Without a tactic, if we started at one end and tried to meet at a different end and we don't have a wall or anything to stop at, no doubt in my mind those boards wouldn't line up perfectly. So I've got a way around that. I'll explain it to you, and I'll just show you what else I did to protect the floorboards while we were working in here. I left about 10 mil of floorboard to protect the full one. So it's time to pull that little piece out now, because we're about to install new boards. We don't need to protect this little tongue anymore. That's what I was worried about damaging. So you can see I've already pulled off that last little piece of floorboard to expose the tongue. And that's our starting point here. So we'll just come along, cut these remaining nails, pull those little bits off, clean this up, and we'll be ready to start installing boards. Now when it comes to tactics, basically we've got floorboards running that way. We're going to come one by one all the way across until we get to the floorboards running this way. Now if we just went from that edge and stacked them all up, by the time we get to here, it'd just be wrong. There's no doubt in my mind about it. And we'd have to trim that last one and it wouldn't be full width and it would just look wrong. So we're better off working from this edge towards this wall, and same again, working from that edge towards the other wall in the living room. And where these doors live and where those big lumps of timber are, we're gonna put a couple floorboards on the angle to match the line of the doors. And that way, if there's any misalignment between the boards, it won't be noticed because the floorboards will be broken into two sections at that doorway. So that's as best as I can explain that. I'll just show it to you as we go. So let's rip into putting some floorboards down.
So let's go.
Bang on 45.
Well, isn't that nice?
This crack in this wall indicates that the floor has dropped. No surprises there.
Crawled to freedom through 500 yards of foulness I can't even imagine. Woo!
Alright, so we're still in Box Hill. I've cut all the floorboards in and put a nail here and there just to hold them down. I'm just fully nailing them off now, but the floors are back down. And one thing to note is you can get secondhand floorboards, and the whole purpose of that is so that they match the existing floorboards, because the new floorboards you buy these days are a bit of a different color. So by the time these ones get sanded and then re-polished, it'll all look the same. So there should be a job well done by the time the floor sanders get here, so just keep on nailing it off and patch in the last few there. See that this gate is ruined. We will be replacing that.
See you, chump.
Get the wheelbarrow between the fence and the hot water unit, so I've come up with a plan B. The wheelie bin's just got emptied, so I might use that as a wheelbarrow. I reckon it's a pretty clever idea. What do you reckon?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, we're so close to finish, it's not funny. I'm personally finished, we're just waiting for other trades to finish, like the painters and the floor sanders. So, quick note on the floors, that's Tassie oak, hardwood. This is pine that's been stained to try and match the hardwood that is original to the rest of the house. So, that's budgets for you. Sometimes when things like extensions are happening, especially renovations that are happening 20, 30 years ago, sometimes decisions get made to choose a cheaper product. That's why there's pine in this section, because this section is an extension. So it's not the neatest of joins, it's not the best matching timber, but it is cost effective and it still functions like a floor. So when we sand this, that color is gonna get sanded out. The owners don't mind because this is still gonna be a rental. So the color isn't a big thing, it's all about budget here. And when we come back for the end results, you're gonna notice that difference. Okay, so behind me is that section that was termite damage that we repaired. We used secondhand hardwood floorboards to match the old style timber that was used here. So it looks different now. It's about to get sanded tomorrow, so we'll come back. I won't film the process of it getting sanded. I've got to be somewhere else. But when we come back, you pretty much won't be able to tell that these were ever different floorboards. So keen to see the after results. We're going to kick off the tour in this front living area. Now this is an extension. I did mention that in previous episodes. The floors are two different types of wood. And I also mentioned that when they get sanded, they would be much different in color and that the owners didn't want to color match. Now, since saying that, they did decide to color match, and you may have seen that in the previous episode when we did a few sneak peeks at the floors. So it's good to see that the color match has turned up pretty good considering how different the timbers are. With that in mind, we didn't really do too much in this area, or we didn't touch the kitchen. It has been painted in here. We've put new blinds and things like that in and just given it a bit of a clean up. So we're moving into the front entry main hallway area. This is where a lot of the work that I did happened. We had the floorboards to repair. We had a big crack in the wall here that has been fixed, and we've also supported the wall with a stump. So it's good to see no more cracks, fresh paint, fresh floorboards. As we move down the hallway, we're coming up to the laundry, which we had to repair. There was some termite damage. There was also water damage in this room. The water damage was to the plaster and to some of the subflooring. Now, some of the subflooring was actually made out of melamine chipboard, which is more suited to making cabinets. And as soon as that had water in it, it just completely disintegrated and the tiles were falling through the floor. So the laundry is now not an issue. We fixed that properly, gotten rid of the water damage, retiled, no more termite damage, and that is pretty much it for that. So the last thing I want to mention is this bathroom that we've come up to. We didn't do anything in here other than replace the ceiling. The ceiling was a little bit moldy, so we pulled that down, threw a new ceiling up, and we put an exhaust fan in, and it's happy days. So the only other things that have happened in this part of the house, which we never filmed any establishing shots or before shots, because the only thing that's happened back here is paint, and with the rooms with floorboards, they've been polished. So that's it for this end of the house. If you want to follow me back down the hallway, just like you might follow me on Instagram or Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. If you could do that, it goes a really long way to helping me out and supporting the channel. Now we're in this main living area. This has also had an extension or two in its time. You can tell that by the remaining beam, and you can tell that by the window we mentioned in a different episode. So there's a window here that may have gone from outside to inside at one point, but now it's just stuck in the middle of the house. This room is a bit of a bits and pieces room. As I mentioned with these extensions, it's also the room that had the most damage in it as far as termite damage. The floorboards were basically paper thin. The only thing left was the polyurethane on top. There are a couple of joists that we had to replace, and some of the skirting boards and architraves that needed replacing as well because we found live termites in there. Some other things that happen in here that I haven't filmed are the curtains and roller blinds. Like I said earlier, the old curtains were taken down and roller blinds have been put in, and it's just brought this house back into current times instead of being stuck in the past with those old drapes. And yeah, it's been given a good clean up, a good paint. Floorboards are done. It's just looking amazing in here. So it's ready for someone to move in. And now with that said, I'll put my shoes on, we'll jump outside, show you all the work and the transformation that's happened out there. All right, we're outside now. Obviously, there's a bit of noise happening. Hopefully it's not too bad. But I just want to show you everything we've done out here, all throughout the backyard, side yard, front yard. Starting off with this side yard, it was completely overgrown. As I said at the beginning of this series, no one's lived in this house for over a year. So all the growth that was happening in here, we had bushes turning into trees, all kinds of nonsense. We cleaned it up, we've put our weed mat down, some new gravel, and we actually uncovered a concrete path here that we're standing on, which just disappeared into the overgrowth. So we retained it with a few bricks, put our gravel in. We've revealed this concrete path again, so nothing wrong with reusing that. Coming into the backyard now, this is where the shed used to be. We demolished that, there was no need for it. One, because there's already a garage here, and two, the floor was completely ruined, also with termites, so we just demolished it. Now in this part of the backyard, there was some kind of timber screening and a gate, and I don't know what it was there for, whether there was a pool or a spa or something. It had been there for so long, it was all falling apart, so considering it had no value anymore, we got rid of that, which has also gone a long way, along with demolishing the shed, has gone a long way to making the backyard feel a lot bigger and a lot neater. So moving this way towards the carport, getting closer to the front of the house, there was some overgrowth here on the trees, which was also causing problems for the fascia, the gutters and the eaves, along with some leaking gutters, irrespective of the trees. There was a lot of damage that had been caused to the fascia, which is one big element of the repair work here. Now with that fascia damage, some of the eaves had fallen down and some of them needed to be removed anyway, just so that we could replace the fascia because they were made of asbestos. So we replaced our fascias where we needed to, put our new eave linings in with some modern cement sheet and fix the gutters to stop any leaks. And with all that done, we could paint, and it's come up $1 million. We've painted the carport. Even though there wasn't much rot happening underneath this screen, the underside of the roofing, it's all been painted white. It's looking way better. I can't believe how much of a difference painting that white has made. And that brings us to the gate. We reused the hinges here. There was nothing wrong with them. Just attached our own metal frames. I attached some timber to the metal frames, which made it a lot easier to install the pickets. So we'll come on through. But it's completely transformed the front of the house. It's also now lockable and secure. And with the addition of that side fence that we built, the backyard is completely secure and no one can wander from the front to the back. Now, one of the remaining items out here is this balcony and pergola. When we got here, the pergola was falling down and the old laser light was completely ruined and yellowed and just made the place feel really dark. So we've replaced all the timbers and we've replaced the roofing with laser light. We've also extended the laser light the full length of the entry. The entry is brighter. The windows that face this entry, those rooms with those windows are a lot brighter. So it has been another amazing transformation here, replacing the pergola, putting on some clear laser light. And the other thing that we've done as well, which has been happening since I finished up here, the tiles have been redone at the front. So the street appeal, the whole front of the house is just so much nicer than when we got here, and yeah, it's really good to see how much it's transformed and something to be proud of. So that's almost it. The last thing was the front of the house. The eaves had fallen down. The mains power cables were pulling the fascia away from the house. The gutters were completely ruined. So with all of that replaced and painted, it actually invites you inside now. It's much brighter inside and out. The last thing we did as well, continuing on from the side yard, is replacing just the dirt and overgrowth with a nice gravel path, which takes you to the trapdoor, a little bit of a storage spot, and the gas meter. So at least you're not bush bashing and needing a machete to get to the gas meter to read the meter. So that's pretty much it for the inside and outside tour. We'll show you some beauty shots now, show you some drone shots, and leave you with that. That's pretty much it for this episode. Now I do want to say, if you're interested in videos like this, there's plenty more on my channel. There's plenty of tutorials as well, which dive deep into giving you information on how we do things, specifically things like repairing the floors, skirting and plastering, so feel free to check those out. Now if you have enjoyed the build series side of things, there are some more build series on the channel where we go episode by episode fixing similar houses that have been either abandoned or not maintained for a long time. So feel free to check those out, subscribe to the channel, and while you're there, leave a comment. Let us know if you've enjoyed this series. Let us know if you've noticed the increased video production, especially with some of the editing that I've been getting help with. Things like microphones, stabilized footage. I'm really trying to improve the video production, so if you've enjoyed that, let me know. And with that said, all I want to do is say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.